Alright, today I'm going to do a little video that should be quite interesting. Got this Heybike Cityscape, and this baby's got over 5,000 miles on it. Just passed it last weekend. Bought the bike in October of 2021 and it's May of 2023. Literally over 5,000 miles on this bike. And today, let's see if we can show you here. Yeah, 5,062 on the odometer right there. And today we're going to tear apart a hub motor. And we're going to see what those gears look like on the inside after 5,000 miles of use. And it should be as easy as popping the wheel off and getting at a couple screws. So we'll get this baby set up, see what she looks like. Alright, so far so good. We've got the back wheel off. And there it sits. And these are the Phillips screws. There's 6 of them. And we're going to be taking those off. And that will allow us to pop this cover off, and we should be able to look at the planetary gear system in there and see what it looks like after over 5,000 miles. So we'll get at it here. I've got my handy Phillips screwdriver. It's not difficult at all. I have a little fun keeping the head of the screwdriver on. There we go. There's number 2. In case you're wondering, yeah, I've upgraded the spokes on this bike to 11 gauge and the rim as well. Started breaking some spokes after about, I'm going to say 1,200 miles, and it wasn't catastrophic. I was still able to ride the bike, but I decided I don't want that to happen when I'm taking a good long cruise in the future. So it cost me $250 for them to respoke this hub to a new rim, and I tell you what, the guy said if you break those I'll be impressed. So I don't think they're going anywhere. And that was at the, yeah, I did that at the 1,000 mile mark, actually. No, 1,500 mile mark I did that at. That's right, I had 1,500 miles on it when a couple of the spokes started breaking. I think I did 100 miles in one day, and that's the day that spokes started breaking on it, a couple of them, and I didn't even notice it till I got back about a mile from home. Hey, these are very small screws, so don't let them jump out of your hand. Out of the ground, because you'll lose it easily. This one's trying. Come on. Okay. Oh. With a little gentle persuasion, that should pop right out of there. And if you're ever going to pound on these threaded studs here, the axle part, use a wood block. You'll never, just when I give it a little tap, let's try this way. There it goes, see it? Just popped out. there she be. Planetary gear system here. There's a couple washers down inside here. I'll lose those. There's one on there as well. 2 washers. Here's what the gears look like. After 5,000 miles, they actually look perfectly fine. No noise. And at the other side here, bearing looks nice and clean in there too. No problems there. Let's see, spacer. There's the windings in there. We're not going to mess with those. Oh, that's what it looks like. I'm going to give it some fresh grease. And the inside looks clean. It's unbelievable after 5,000 miles. Doesn't seem to be any problems with it at all. So that'll get some new lubrication, and I will put it back together and reinstall it on the bike. There really doesn't seem to be any problems at all. But that's what's driving the bike right there. Alright, we'll be back with some grease. There it is, Permatex White Lithium. I'm not even going to wipe this out because it looks like you could eat off the inside of here. I mean, there's no rust, I don't see any particles, nothing loose in there, nothing that's showing any signs of wear to speak of. No harm in putting some fresh grease in there though. Tell you what, this is one heck of a comfortable bike. Smear that into the gears. Yeah. That ought to do it. Gonna put a little bit on the actual gears themselves. That old grease out of there, I guess. It's actually doesn't look that bad. Not bad for 5,000 miles on this thing. Waste any time, I'm going to snap it right back together here. Try to elevate the wheel. Yeah, it's not going to matter, is it? So you're just going to take that, line up with that planetary gear system in there. Should, boom, just like that. Screws line up. I think just like if you were one of the lug nuts in a car, we'll do them one. We'll sort of alternate the positions here while we put these screws in here. tighten them all down. Thought I was in for a big job today. I thought for sure I'd be taking that gear system apart and buying a new planetary, you know, the 3 nylon gears. I figured were going to be chewed up to some extent. Another thing about this bike, which I'll show you later, you can boot it up to 48 volts. So it can run on your 36 volt battery, but you can also use a 48 volt battery on it. Now I'll make another video to show you how I did that. And I've been running it on 48 volts most of the time. And in my opinion, it seems to love it because it just has more oomph. How's it? Cherry blossom petals blowing through here. It's not snowing, even though it's Buffalo. This is spring snow in Buffalo. It's the petals blowing around. Okay, we're snugging those up now. I'm doing them as if I was doing lug nuts on a car. You want to try to go opposites. Some new fresh grease in there, and I think I'll be good to go for another 5,000 miles on this thing. They weren't that tight in there, so I'm not going to really over torque them, but they're good and snug. They're only Phillips screws. I thought they would be Torx, but they're not, just Phillips. And there she is. Another thing I'm going to do, this is my favorite lubrication of all time, Duralube, and it really does work on just about everything. And I'm going to just put a little tiny bit in. Got pretty good viscosity. It's not real runny, and I'll tell you what, this stuff will extend the life of anything. I used it on a model train and I got 10 times the distance out of a motor than when I was using 3-in-1 hobby oil. So it really does work. We got it all cleaned up. And that's it. Back in place. Ready to put it back on the bike. Alright, I've adjusted the tension of these nuts here, so that's not rubbing against the brakes. You gotta get them just right on each side with the spacers in the right places. And there you have it. Now, there's no rubbing whatsoever. Anything. Just gotta play around with the right tension on these nuts on the outside of the axle studs there. You got a little arrow that lines up with that arrow. They both have arrows that you just point at each other, and that's how you know you got the right connection. Boom, boom, she's in. That little channel to put it through, and we're good to go. I cleaned up all these parts up in here with some brake cleaner. Yeah, the derailleur was really gunked up, which makes perfect sense. And then I put a little bit of Duralube on it, and I cleaned up the chain real good. Got a lot of gook off the chain, and once again I added some WD to the chain because I just love this stuff. Now that I've got the derailleurs all cleaned, I think I'm just gonna, there you go. No more gook left anywhere to get on the chain, so just give it a quick wipe down. I really gave it a good little bath in the Duralube, which is what I like. There it is. Cleaned up nice. I also used brake cleaner on the gear mechanism there because that was all gunked up. So when I had that off, I don't have a video of it, but I sprayed that real good with brake cleaner, and a lot of gunk came off of that. So appears as though we're ready to roll. That was a fun job. Wasn't that bad. Heybike Cityscape. 5,000 miles on this bad boy. Hope you enjoy yours as much as I've enjoyed mine, and will continue to.